Ubisoft have just released a 2025 roadmap of all the upcoming content that we'll be releasing in Assassin's Creed Shadows, with a lot of changes coming to the game that I'm going to break down for you in a no-nonsense fashion, so you can decide if it's worth booting the game back up and logging in now or either later on in the year. Now, this new dev trailer gave us a lot of information, but it was very top-level info with no specific dates. But don't worry, I have created a revamped roadmap for you here with specific dates and further info when this will all likely be released in 2025. But in my opinion, on the whole, the best way to view the next 365 days of Assassin's Creed Shadows content is by putting all of this stuff into kind of like 3 buckets here. The first bucket is all of the regular content and title updates to the game that will be free for you to play. The second bucket is all the paid content like expansions or DLCs, which will cost you extra money on top of the base game cost if you do want to play them. And then our third bucket is all of the store or microtransaction content, which will also be released throughout this year with an additional cost if you do want that kind of stuff. Now, just like in Valhalla, there will be title updates every 4 to 6 weeks, with a community requested feature being included in each of these updates. And that's a good transition onto our first upcoming update now, because it will be arriving next week on Tuesday, May the 6th, where we will be picking up our first new free content that Ubisoft is calling Story Drops, where there will be many of them released throughout the year. Now, these are unique quest lines that will permanently impact the game in some way and are orientated around the already established characters in the game that you've already likely come across, with this quest in particular being called the Works of Luis Frois, where it'll give us a deeper understanding of the Jesuit scholar whose work during this Sengoku time period that Shadows takes place in, and that is still reviewed by historians today, that his work I mean. Now, as noted by Dan, our community developer, who by the way I had the pleasure of meeting when I visited Ubisoft Quebec before launch, and he's actually a really great guy, very patient indeed. Well, he said that we'll be picking up a Codex revamp in this update as well, where I imagine there will be a lot more walls of text to scroll through that you can read or not read at your leisure. Now, following Tuesday's story drop update, Ubisoft have stated that in late May, with no date, which I think is very likely to be Tuesday the 20th or the 27th, based on historical title update releases, we will be picking up a couple special collaboration updates. Now, I'm going to explain what I believe those are with previous examples a little later on in this video, because the main focus of this update is based around parkour improvements. Firstly, the team is continuing to optimize it from the previous title update from last month to make it less clunky and a lot more smooth, but more importantly, they're now adding the height gaining back eject move teased in this clip here, which allows you to just ping pong off neighboring walls to get to the top of the building essentially, as well as newly reanimated side ejects, which give you the option to kind of like side hop to another wall grip mid parkour climb, which they were also added in a post-launch update in Mirage a few years back if you did play that game. But not only that, they have added a new move for the Assassin's Creed series here called the vertical ledge jump, where you can just hop with Yasuke or Naoe to just reach these overhangs instead of like running into the wall below the overhang and like just disjointedly pulling yourself up to the top of the building. So it's like a very nice animation here indeed. Now, in this same parkour update at the end of May, we'll also be picking up significant photo mode improvements. The first of those being a variety of different filters added to your screen to change the vibe if you want that, as well as several poses for Naoe and Yasuke, which in my opinion are very much needed. It's good to see that coming. And perhaps more importantly, a shed load of different facial emotes to flick through for the perfect camera shot. And they're also adding in a new photo mode feature where you can turn on music in the world menu and just chill out to some Japanese beats whilst you spend time getting that right angle in photo mode. And even though it wasn't mentioned in the developer trailer or in the article, Nika did spot the time of day slider here on your screen in the same menu, so you don't have to wait for the seasons to change in game to get the right lighting for your photography snaps, so that's very good as well. Finally, they're also adding in a few frame options to finish your portrait before you do export it, so a pretty solid update to look forward to here. But what's actually happening next? Well, we've got a lot more coming this year, a huge amount actually. But before we do break all of that down together, if you're finding this no nonsense update video informative and helpful, please do leave a very quick like down below, as it kind of lets me know that you like these kind of videos, so I can continue to make more of them for you going forward this year across Shadows coverage. So thank you very much for your support, and let me know that you want to see more of them. Now, moving into June's update, which I reckon will either be Tuesday the 17th or the 24th, if we add that 4 to 5 weeks onto the parkour and photo mode update, we'll then be picking up our second free story drop quest with no further details on that as of yet. But on top of that, the team are going to add in a new difficulty setting, which will be presumably called the Nightmare mode, as it was in Odyssey if you played that game, which I very much welcome, as it took the Valhalla team, so I looked this up by the way, 301 days after Valhalla's launch to add in the Aesir Nightmare difficulty mode. So to have this implemented so soon after launch is a very big thumbs up for me. And speaking of thumbs up, the team have now confirmed that we'll be able to wear our hood in cutscenes, which I know a lot of you have been asking for. And having spoken to Akeem Milne, one of Shadow's associate directors, who is another great guy, by the way, massive Assassin's Creed fan, really great to see someone like this working on the series. And he was actually really incredibly patient with me as well when I did spam him with questions back in January. But he told me that to make this work, the team needs to manually go through over 1,000 individual cutscenes in game and make sure that each armor piece and weapon combo doesn't kind of like clip or merge through one another when you're in these cutscenes. So with all of these variations in game, this is literally tens of thousands of cutscenes that the team need to check, which is a huge amount of work behind the scenes. And I, for one, as a fan of this series, I do really appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to seeing this mechanic implemented in this update in particular. Now, in this same Big Boy June update, we'll also be picking up a brand new recruitable ally that has new abilities that we can utilize, as well as their own individual storyline, with no further details, of course, revealed on who that is right now. I will let you know when we know more. However, on top of the system bug fixes and improvements, the team will be allowing us to modify several in-game visual effects with this update, such as being able to remove the glints of weapons that can suddenly like flash on your screen in combat. If you don't like them, you get rid of them. Or you can even turn off the mandatory assassination filters, which are these kill screens here that are unavoidable in the current game, but from June onwards you can then just get rid of them, as I know a few of you in the comments have said that it really does irritate you. In fact, they're even allowing us to turn off the stealth outline around your character here, where you're kind of like hidden in a bush or you're peeking around a corner. So if you want to just go full hidden shinobi immersion mode, you can do that from June onwards as well. On top of that, the team is extending the castle alarm system across the whole of the open world. So even though it wasn't elaborated on in detail, I imagine that you won't just be wanted in one province now when you get spotted for doing something illegal, but rather the whole of Japan will want you. And I think if that does happen, that is a good update there. Now, for those of you who have finished the game, you'll be pleased to know that the New Game Plus mode is coming to Shadows, which means that you can play through the whole story again, but you won't lose your armor, weapons, gear, resources, and hideout upgrades that you've already spent a lot of time unlocking. Where Simon did confirm in the dev trailer that it's already pretty fleshed out, which is positive to hear publicly. So we can take that as this New Game Plus is currently in good condition behind the scenes, which I also interpret as an acknowledgement that it is likely to arrive in this June title update, as Simon discusses this New Game Plus feature before he moves on to all of the summer update stuff that we just went through. So even though it's been placed at the top of the kind of future content column here, as you can see here, I reckon that's more of a precaution by the team so they don't overpromise and underdeliver. Because when I spoke to Charles Benoit, the game director at Ubisoft's Quebec studios in January, he told me that it would be released at the end of this year. So the team must be making really good progress on its development behind the scenes, which is another positive for us gamers. Now, in the same dev roadmap update, we also got an update here regarding the first DLC or expansion for Shadows called The Claws of Awaji, which continues the main story of Shadows after you complete the main narrative of the game, which just so happens to be free for those of you who pre-ordered the base game before it launched. Now, if you didn't though, and at the time of recording this video for you, Ubisoft haven't posted or published the official cost of this DLC on their store page, but depending upon when you watch this, and if they have done so, please do comment down below the new pricing to let everybody know. But to manage your own expectations on price right now, the first expansion release for Valhalla was called The Wrath of the Druids, and that was priced in at £20, £21, €25, and $25. So expect something similar here, especially as there's 10 hours of new content, a new bow weapon for Naoe, and several new abilities, of course. Now, as for a release date, Dan did say that it will be towards the end of this year, and historically, Ubisoft likes to release their first expansions 6 months after launch. to give the base game enough breathing space. So that would be around September this year, which does make sense to me, as they'd want to get this out the door and ship before everybody starts playing Ghost of Yote, which releases on October the 2nd. So expect this expansion to drop before that without question. In fact, I'm calling it now. It's going to drop in September. Well, before September. If it doesn't, I will eat my own hat. Call me out on that if it doesn't happen. Now, as for these special collaborations, which there are presumably going to be several of, as the future content section here on your screen states, future collaborations being plural, so more than one is coming. So with that in mind, and using the late May update plan here as a good example of how these will be distributed, I think we can reasonably deduce that these collabs will be slotted into title updates every 4 to 5 weeks, which I also expect will probably be in the form of some sort of in-game event or quest line where you can earn in-game rewards that are representative of one of Ubisoft's collaborating partner brands. And a good example of this being Red Bull recently and Ubisoft's partner campaign with them before launch, where you could earn 2 in-game branded Red Bull trinkets for Naoe and Yasuke by just buying one of their cans and redeeming it through their website, which was pretty cool actually. So I'm not saying that we're going to get wings and fly away in game after chugging an in-game Red Bull can or something, but expect something similar to this kind of format with these collabs going forward. I think we've just recently seen a Skull and Bones kind of game crossover here. So yeah, something like that nature, expect that over the course of the next year for sure. Now, on top of that content, you can also expect a similar type of release plan here, so every 4 to 6 weeks, with the microtransaction store armor sets, where right now, at the time of recording again, there are 6 different Helix Pack sets in the store. And for comparison, when Valhalla concluded and finished its post-launch expansion support, there was a total of 23 Helix armor sets in the game. So with that in mind, do expect a new armor set with every new title update rotation. And if that kind of stuff interests you, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, as I actually broke down all of the armor sets in Valhalla before their official release, so you could see if it was worth spending the money on. And I plan to do the same with Shadows if you do want that. Now, on top of the armor sets, there will be new Animus content, which is the new Project Battle Pass mechanic in the game that is also likely to be expanded or added to at every title update sequentially as we go forward throughout this year, which, by the way, is responsible for moving the main modern day storyline forward, with Mark Alexis Cote, the franchise chief, the big boss, recently stating in an interview that people who love the modern day story will get more out of it in the post-launch of Shadows. So this Animus content here, these updates, will be exactly that throughout the year. So if you like that kind of stuff, keep an eye out for that. Well, I will let you know, of course, when we know more. Now, if you like this no-nonsense breakdown, then I think you're definitely going to like this new video where I take you through all the awesome hidden secrets and Easter eggs in Shadows that you may have missed or just run past. So do click that video on your screen right now, and I'll see you there in a second. Big thanks to Nika, Jabak and Donut, Pedder, and Ibsart for helping me make this breakdown video for you. Coffee is definitely on them, and I'll catch you in that next video in just a moment.